Don't come to my graduation. It's just for family and real friends, she said after I paid her tuition, so I walked away without a word. Now her family knows everything, and she's begging me to talk. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. When Madison and I first started dating, she was in her second year of college, juggling 2 part-time jobs and barely keeping her head above water. I was already working full-time at a small logistics company, not glamorous, but steady. She used to joke that I was the only reason she didn't quit school. I'd bring her takeout during late-night study sessions, quiz her before exams, and listen when she'd cry about how she'd never make it. Back then, she was humble, grateful. She used to look at me like I was her anchor. It started small. I offered to cover her books one semester because her hours got cut. Then I helped with rent when her roommate moved out suddenly. She promised she'd pay me back once she graduated and got a real job. I never pushed for anything. I believed in her. When her tuition balance came up short the following semester, she broke down on the phone, saying she couldn't afford to continue. I wired the money that same day. She called me crying, telling me I was the best thing that ever happened to her. At the time, it felt like love. Looking back, it was probably convenience. By her final year, Madison started changing. The girl who used to talk about our future now talked about her career, her network, and her image. She started dressing differently, talking differently, surrounding herself with people who made her feel important. At first, I thought it was just growth. She was finally confident, finally proud of herself. I wanted to be happy for her, but something about it didn't feel right. She stopped asking how my day was. When I'd mention my own work struggles, she'd just say, "You're fine. You're good at what you do," and change the subject back to her internship or some professor she wanted to impress. The first real crack showed during a dinner with some of her new classmates. They were talking about their post-graduation plans, jobs in big cities, internships abroad, and someone asked me what I did. I told them I managed supply chains for a regional company. Madison laughed a little too quickly and said, "Yeah, he's the practical one. Keeps me grounded." The tone stung, like I was a prop, not a person. On the drive home, I tried to shake it off. Me? That was kind of weird, huh? Felt like I was the odd one out. Madison? Oh, come on. They're just from different circles. You don't have to take it personally. Me? You laughed at what I do for work. Madison? It's not like that. You know I appreciate you. I can't wait to be done with school and move forward. You wouldn't understand the pressure. That last line stuck with me. I started realizing she only called when she needed something. Help proofreading a paper, a ride, money for some last-minute supply. If I didn't pick up, she'd send 3 texts in a row, followed by a "never mind, I'll figure it out." Then, when I'd finally called back, she'd act like nothing happened. As graduation approached, I thought maybe it was just stress. Finals, job interviews, trying to figure out her next step. It made sense. I told myself once she crossed that stage, things would calm down. We'd celebrate together, take a trip like we always talked about. But deep down, something told me that the girl I'd helped build her dream life wasn't planning on bringing me with her into it. A week before Madison's graduation, I was more excited than she was. I'd already taken the day off work, picked out a suit, and even bought her a small bracelet with her initials engraved, something she could wear as a reminder of how far she'd come. That Friday night, I drove to her apartment to drop off dinner. She opened the door halfway, like she wasn't expecting me. "Madison, oh hey, you should have texted first. I'm kind of in the middle of something." Me? "Yeah, sorry. Just brought you some food. Thought you could use a break." Madison, "Thanks. Just leave it on the counter, okay?" There was a guy's voice in the background, familiar, but not someone I knew well. One of her classmates, maybe. I didn't ask. I just set the bag down and said goodnight. That night, I couldn't shake a strange feeling. It wasn't jealousy. It was something colder, like I was watching myself fade out of her life in real time. A few days later, she called. Her tone was light, casual, like she was reading from a script. "Madison, hey, so about graduation." Me? "Yeah, I've been looking forward to it." Madison, "Right, so, please don't take this the wrong way, but I don't think it's a good idea for you to come." At first, I thought she was joking. Me, what? Madison, "It's just for family and, close friends. It's kind of a small thing." Me. Family and real friends, right? Madison. Oh my God, don't make it sound like that. It's just, you wouldn't know anyone there. And I don't want to explain things to people or make it awkward. Me. Explain what exactly? Madison. That my boyfriend isn't in school, or that you help me financially. It's not a big deal. I just want to keep things simple. Her words hit like static. There was a long silence before I said, Me. Got it. Madison. Please don't be weird about this, okay? You know I care about you. Me. Sure. Have a great day, Madison. And that was it. No argument. No guilt trip. No raised voice. I just hung up. Then I sat there in my car for a while, watching the screen dim on my phone. That night, I packed up the few things I'd left at her apartment: a hoodie, a charger, a photo of us from her sophomore year. I didn't leave a note. I didn't text her. She wanted a graduation without me, so I gave her exactly that. On the day of her ceremony, I went to work like nothing happened. Around noon, my coworker, Jake, glanced at his phone and said, Hey, isn't your girlfriend graduating today? Not anymore, I said, and went back to my spreadsheet. That evening, her Instagram flooded with photos. Madison in her cap and gown, holding flowers, smiling with her classmates. The caption read, I did it all on my own. I remember staring at those words longer than I should have. I didn't feel angry, just tired. So I did the one thing she never expected me to do. I said nothing. I didn't like, comment, or call. I just disappeared quietly from her followers list, her messages, and her world. At the time, she probably thought she'd won. But silence has a way of echoing louder than any argument, and soon, that echo would find its way back to her. The week after her graduation was quiet. Too quiet. No texts, no calls, no explanations. It was like she'd erased me along with her student debt. I thought maybe she'd reach out, at least to say thanks. But she didn't. So I filled the silence with work. I started taking longer shifts, spending more time at the gym, cooking at home instead of ordering out. It felt strange at first, living without checking my phone every 10 minutes for her name. But after a while, the quiet started feeling like peace. Then, about 2 weeks later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was her mom. Mrs. Parker. Hi, this is Madison's mom. I hope I'm not bothering you. Me. Not at all. Everything okay. Mrs. Parker. I just wanted to say thank you for everything you did for her. Me. I'm not sure I follow. Mrs. Parker. She finally told us. About the tuition, the rent help, the books. We had no idea you'd been helping that much. I stayed quiet. She sounded almost embarrassed. Mrs. Parker. We're honestly shocked. We thought she'd gotten scholarships. I guess we believed what she wanted us to believe. Me. She worked hard for her degree. I just try to make things easier. Mrs. Parker. You were far too kind to her. I'm sorry she treated you that way. She paused, then added, Her father's not speaking to her right now. He's furious. After the call ended, I just sat there. I hadn't said anything to anyone. So she must have confessed, maybe out of guilt, maybe because the story didn't add up anymore. Either way, her perfect image was starting to crack. A few days later, one of her classmates, a guy named Aaron, messaged me on Instagram. We weren't friends, but I remembered him from the dinner. Aaron. Hey man, don't mean to stir things up, but Madison's been saying some weird stuff. She told people you were obsessed with her and tried to control her finances. Just thought you should know before rumors spread. I laughed. It was such a predictable move. She'd gone from pretending I didn't exist to painting herself as the victim. But this time, I didn't take the bait. Me. Thanks for the heads up, man. I'm good. And I was. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I owed her anything. Not an explanation, not a defense, not even a reaction. Meanwhile, the fallout hit her faster than I expected. Mutual friends started messaging me, saying things like, Did you really pay her tuition? Or, She's telling people a totally different story. I just said, Believe whatever you want, and left it at that. Eventually, the truth reached her parents in full detail. Madison's dad called me personally, something he'd never done before. Mr. Parker. Son, I just want to say you're a better man than I ever was at your age. You didn't deserve how she handled things. Me. I appreciate that, sir. But really, I'm fine. Mr. Parker. She's been staying with us for a bit. Things aren't easy here right now. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need to. I could picture it. The tension, The embarrassment, her family seeing through the version of herself she'd been selling. She'd built her entire identity on being independent, accomplished, self-made. Now the people closest to her knew that the foundation of that story was built on someone else's sacrifice. I didn't feel satisfaction, just closure. One night, I looked through old photos, her graduation plans, the messages about tuition deadlines, the screenshot of the wire transfer receipt I'd sent when she was crying over losing her financial aid. Then I deleted everything. That was the real ending. Not the phone call, not the exposure, the deletion. But Madison wasn't done yet. When people like her lose control of the narrative, they don't let go quietly. And the first text came not long after. The first text came at midnight on a Thursday. "Madison, can we talk?" I stared at the screen for a while before locking my phone. I didn't reply. The next morning, another message came. "Madison, I know I messed up. Please just hear me out." Then came the calls. 3 of them. I ignored each one. She left a voicemail on the 4th. Her voice shaky, almost unfamiliar. "I didn't mean for things to go like this. My parents hate me right now. Everyone's judging me. Please, just talk to me. I need to explain." I didn't delete it. I just didn't respond. For a while, she tried every angle: guilt, apology, nostalgia. "Madison, I never said you didn't matter. Madison, you were my rock when no one else cared. Madison, you don't understand how much pressure I was under." Then, when I still didn't bite, the tone shifted. "Madison, you told them, didn't you? Madison, my family thinks I used you. You couldn't keep your mouth shut." That one made me laugh out loud. I hadn't told a soul. She'd done it all herself, trying to rewrite the story. I didn't respond to that either. But the messages didn't stop. It was like she was unraveling, switching from sweet to angry within minutes. "You were supposed to be proud of me. You made me look like a gold digger. You don't even know how hard this has been for me." Finally, I blocked her number. I thought that would be it. But a week later, I got a message request on Instagram. A long paragraph that started with, "If you ever loved me," and ended with, "I just want to meet and talk." She attached a photo of us from a trip we took last year, the one I'd deleted weeks ago. I didn't accept the message. I didn't decline it either. I just left it sitting there, unread, like a monument to what she'd burned down herself. Then, out of nowhere, her mom called again. "Mrs. Parker, she's been crying nonstop. Says she's sorry for everything. She knows you didn't say anything to us. We figured that out." Me. That's between her and her conscience. I'm not part of it anymore. "Mrs. Parker, I respect that. I just wanted you to know she's learning her lesson." I thanked her and hung up. But later that night, curiosity got the better of me. I checked Madison's social media. Her once polished feed, full of travel pics, latte art, and motivational captions, was now half deleted. Comments on her last post were brutal. "Didn't you say your parents paid your way? So much for being self-made. Guess money can buy a degree." And then, buried under it all, one comment stood out. "Maybe next time don't tell the guy who paid your tuition not to come to your graduation." Hundreds of likes. That's when I realized someone else must have known the story and put it together. Probably one of her friends who saw what happened firsthand. She'd humiliated herself, not through some revenge I planned, but by being exactly who she was. A week later, a letter arrived in the mail. Not an email, not a text, a real handwritten letter. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity won again. It was 4 pages long. She apologized, explained, rationalized, the usual mix of guilt and self-pity. But one line stood out near the end. "I just wish you'd shown up that day. I looked for you." I folded it back up and threw it in the drawer without finishing. I didn't go to her graduation because she made sure I knew I wasn't welcome. That wasn't on me. I wasn't the one who needed closure anymore. But for her, that moment when she looked out into the crowd and realized the one person who made it possible wasn't there, that was the start of her consequences. And they were only just beginning. It took about a month before things really fell apart for Madison. I didn't hear from her directly again, but people talk. Especially when someone who spent years pretending to be perfect suddenly loses control of the story. From what I heard, her job offer after graduation fell through. The company did background checks and asked for additional verification for her degree and funding. Something about discrepancies in her financial aid records. Probably because she'd claimed her parents paid when, in reality, the money came from my transfers. It triggered a review, and everything unraveled from there. Her parents, furious and embarrassed, stopped helping her financially. Her dad even made her move back home until she got her life together. She lasted 2 weeks before moving in with a friend from her program. That friend, by the way, was the same one who apparently told everyone what really happened. Meanwhile, I was fine, better than fine. Work was going great. I just finished a project that landed me a promotion and a solid raise. I used some of the money to finally take the vacation we'd always talked about, the one to Seattle she kept putting off because it wasn't a priority right now. I went alone, walked through Pike Place Market, took photos of the skyline, and realized that peace doesn't need to feel dramatic. Sometimes it's just the absence of someone constantly making you feel like you're not enough. One night during that trip, I got a message from a mutual friend, Jenna. Jenna, hey, not sure if you care, but Madison's been telling people she regrets everything. She even said you were the only real person in her life. I didn't reply, but I couldn't help but feel something. Not sadness, exactly. Just a deep, quiet confirmation that walking away had been the right choice. When I got back home, there was one last piece of fallout, a text from a new number. Unknown. I know I don't deserve to ask this, but I really need to talk to you one last time. Please. I didn't respond. A few hours later, another message came. My family barely speaks to me. Everyone knows what I did. I wish I could undo it. I wish I'd invited you. I wish I'd treated you like you mattered when you actually did. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't manipulative. Just tired. Defeated. That was the first time I felt sorry for her. Not because she lost me, but because she'd finally realized that not everyone sticks around when you show them who you really are. I deleted the messages without replying. Not out of spite. Out of finality. A few weeks later, I ran into her mom again at the grocery store. She looked exhausted but managed a small smile. Mrs. Parker, you look well. Me? Yeah, I'm doing good. You? Mrs. Parker, we're getting there. Madison's learning things the hard way. I just wanted to thank you again for not adding fuel to the fire. You handled this better than most would have. I nodded. Sometimes silence says enough. She smiled sadly. She knows that now. That was the last time I ever heard her name in conversation. Now, whenever I think about everything, the tuition, the graduation, the texts, it doesn't sting anymore. It just feels like something that happened in another lifetime. She said I wasn't family or a real friend. Turns out, she was right. Family and real friends don't treat you like that. So I stopped trying to be one. And for the first time in years, that decision gave me something no degree ever could. Peace I didn't have to pay for. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.